Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Dina, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Courtney. She is a self-love and empowerment coach. So we're going to get very intimate and learn all about her and why she chose this field for her career. So Courtney, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm very good. How are you?
I'm excited that you're here.
So
Um,
hi.
Yeah, so I myself actually kind of started of an empowerment coach. So I'm very curious, how did this come to be for you?
So basically, like growing up, I always felt very like I was always very empathetic and always very like I could feel things quite deeply, and I was quite spiritual from a young age. And then obviously, like as I was growing up, I had a lot of anxiety, I had a lot of self-doubt. I had my family like doing a lot of things for me, and I struggled academically, and I was just very like I didn't really have independence. Um, and I just had like a lot of just like a lot of self-doubt and self-worth issues and but mainly anxiety, like a lot of anxiety. And then it wasn't until probably like 2020 when I was like, no, like I don't want to feel this way anymore. Like I feel like I'm just living an autopilot. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I like. I don't even know what my interests are. Like I feel like I'm just, you know, people pleasing and doing what everyone else wants me to do. And I was attracting a lot of people that were taking advantage of me. Um, so I started seeing my first coach in 2020, and that was the most transformational year of my life on so many levels, physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, like just in every way. And I actually lent into my biggest fear, which was physical intimacy. So like growing up, I didn't really date because I had a lot of issues with intimacy.
Mhm.
Um, so I actually had a condition called vaginismus, which is quite common for women. And that really prevented me from, having like sexual experiences and, experimenting and things like that. So I actually ended up seeing a pelvic floor physio and a sexologist at the same time. So while I was learning to overcome the vaginismus, I was also learning to connect to my body and become intimate with myself. And that was incredible. That was like basically like the start of my self intimacy journey. And then from there, I started seeing more coaches and more mentors and diving into different things, like exploring new topics like human design and shamanism. And I even saw a shaman, which was fucking awesome. Went on like, shamanic journeys, and it was just like next level stuff. And then I was like, yeah, like I really want to do this for other people. Like I feel like the more I went into self-discovery and learnt things and dived into things, and even working with like my subconscious mind and think like going on breathwork journeys, I was like, I can actually do this for other people. And the thing is I've always had that desire to help people. I just didn't know in what way. So obviously that started in healthcare for me. And I've been in healthcare for 9 years, and I'm just like, that's not in alignment anymore. In alignment is me coaching other women to recognize their worth and their power and their gifts, and to cultivate that intimacy within themselves so that they can have that intimacy with other people, not just in a relationship, but just with people in their life. And they can identify their purpose, which is basically to be unapologetically who you are and to be your unique essence, that your soul has come here for a reason, and for them to discover that. And that's what brings me to where I am right now, as a building my business as a self-love and empowerment coach.
That's amazing. Wow, thank you so much for sharing. I hear so much of myself in your story.
I
Very
love that.
similar path. Just kind of like going on my own journey, discovering all these kinds of things. I mean, I took a bit of a different route with Tantra, but honestly, it's
Mm-hmm.
at the base, it's kind of the same thing where you're dealing with spirituality, mindset, understanding yourself, finding yourself, and then now allowing others to kind of do the same thing. So that's
Absolutely.
wonderful. Yes, yes.
Love that.
So, would you say is your favorite topic after encompassing all of those beautiful things, out of like spirituality, sexuality, intimacy, inner child stuff? Like, what is your ma forte?
Oh, I would say like spirituality, like when it comes to like everything being an energetic vibration, and that we attract based off what frequency we're in. So if we're in a higher frequency, obviously we're going to attract better people, better experiences, opportunities into our life. So for me, it would be like the energetic side of spirituality and human design. I mean, I love human design. Like since like discovering my energy type, I just feel like I've been just in alignment in just so many ways.
And what energy type are you?
I'm a generator. I am
Ooh,
a 1-3 generator. So the seeker of knowledge and truth,
I
which
love
is
that.
very me. Yep.
Yay.
And also just like as a generator, following my excitement. So following like what lifts me up, like my joy.
Hmm.
And that's been amazing for me. And I feel like it was like, when I first started, I dived into it and I was really interested and really excited. And then I feel like it just got easier to like follow my energy type. The more I learned about it, the more I discovered different aspects of human design.
Yes. I absolutely agree. I am a manifesting generator. So we are known to
Ooh,
be, yeah, no. So we're a bit of
love
a
it.
hybrid, but we're most like generators actually, which is very interesting. So we have the same, strategy to respond to life, to respond to things,
Yes.
as opposed to the other kinds, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually a 2-4 profile, which means hermit opportunist. So I'm like basically split down the middle. Half of myself is like, I want to be alone. Don't talk to me. I'm in my creative flow. And the other half's
Yep.
like, life of the party, so opportuning and networking, being social, all the things. So it's like, I really got to be clear where the balance is for
Mhm.
myself. Otherwise, my energy is just like,
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And how does it feel like having to balance both like those types?
yeah, like growing up before I discovered what this meant, and
Mm,
like how I kind of like operated naturally, I was like very confused. So
mm,
it gives me permission to live out my design as planned.
yep.
And like I don't think there's a such thing as a perfect balance, but we get there.
Hmm. Yep.
We get there,
100%.
and it's like trial and error, like anything, to
I
see
was
how much
literally
of
just about
it,
to say that. Yep.
of
Yeah.
course,
Trial and error.
generators. Lovely.
Also intuitive. Don't
I'm
forget.
also intuitive. Yes. I'm really into like angel numbers. So anytime I see an angel number is she's like same. Um, it's just for me, it's my life. So it's my like anchor into like the now. So reminding
Hmm.
me, okay, there's all the definitions of what each number means, but it's like truly in
Yes.
that moment, can you use your intuition? What do you think that means? And then maybe
Hmm.
later I'll check it out and I'm like, oh wow, really on point.
Amazing. What number would you say you see often? Like what's the prominent number that you see?
It's honestly like depends on my flow. So
Yep.
recently it's been 10-10 and 12-12 has been my
Okay.
numbers.
Yep.
Um, and then it kind of fell off a little bit with just like I was like so focused and so like, when you grip a bar of soap and it like slips out of your hand. So that was
Hmm.
kind of like
Hmm.
how I was operating. I was like under a microscope, why aren't things working? And then I was like, I need
Yep.
to let go. And it wasn't until I let go did I start seeing those numbers again. And I was like, oh,
Yep. Surrendering, hey?
right. So it's kind of my
Yeah.
confirmation to be like, okay, stay there. This is your balance. Chill out. Let things come to you. Wait to respond like you're designed to do. And then we
Yes.
can proceed. Right. So,
Yes. I love that. I love that.
yeah, it's a beautiful time. Um,
Hmm.
so, what do you think is the most challenging part about the type of coach you are? Just being, we all hear it all the time. Loving yourself is the best thing to be doing to attract your partner, to attract the things you want. But what is like
Mm.
the most difficult part about, reiterating that to people and they just maybe do they believe it? Do they not? I'm curious.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, it's like I know I want to help women, but I want to be able to help women in the health field. Like obviously, I work with women and I see how many women are just their nervous systems are just dysregulated and they're just so like they're over giving because that's the industry that they're in, that's what they're used to, and then they're burning out. So I think the hardest part is like encouraging them, to like work with me. I think so. I've been trying to like reach out, to women at work and things like that. And I've had a few people be like, yeah, like that sounds really great. And I've had a few people say yes and then like not respond. So I think and for me, obviously, like I'm building my business. So I'm getting used to like, reaching out to people and booking calls and things like that. So it's just like learning a new skill. So I'd say that would be the most challenging part.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it's funny because I hear so much of myself, my old self anyway, in that where, like
Mhm.
maybe in the interim, you're like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea. But when you actually break it down and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go do this thing, it's like fear of the unknown because you've operated this way for so long that now it's like, what's on the other side? I don't know. Am I
Yep.
gonna be okay? And it's just all the,
Yep.
so it affects everyone
Exactly.
different. But
Exactly. And like when you say that, it's like having that like that excitement, but then that sort of that uncertainty at the same time. So like excitement with the change that's happening and but then it's that uncertainty too. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. And just remind me, like how long have you like when did you start coaching? When did you start your business, I guess, in the sense of a CEO, we'll say.
Oh, I would say like, I mean, for the past 2 years, I'm like, yeah, like I really want to build my business. Like I want this to happen. I want to get clients, but I think I wasn't ready. But now it's like I'm ready. Like I'm ready to do this. And I just feel that so deep inside. And I think building my confidence up has helped with that so much. But honestly, like probably only the past 2 months. So still very, very new. So I'd say like March, April, probably April actually. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Brand spanking new, friend.
Oh, brand spanking new. Yes, yes.
Yes, but you're
Like I
skyrocketing as far as I'm
like I
concerned.
literally just got my first client like last Friday into my 3 month program, which is super exciting.
Hmm.
Um, and she's like really, yeah, she's really into it. She's really open. She said to me, she told me that she feels really safe with me, which is, really reassuring as well.
Totally.
So very excited to just keep this journey going and keep building and growing and yeah,
Hmm.
helping people, changing people's lives.
Yes. Now,
Yeah.
what are some of the practices that you do for you? So, obviously, being a giver yourself, you need some replenishment,
I
nourishment,
love
whatever
that
that looks
question.
like. So, what do you like to do? Or, yeah.
Love that question. So for me, I do a lot of breath work. So like in the morning, I'll just spend about 5-10 minutes doing different forms of breath work. So like box breathing or the 4-7-8 breath. So things that regulate my nervous system. Um, I'm very big on protecting my energy. So
Mm,
usually what I'll do is I'll just even like in meditation or just with my eyes closed, I'll visualize like my aura in a certain color. So it might be like white light surrounding me, but I find that I always see pink, gold, and blue colors. They just stand out. So I'll imagine those colors around me. And then I'll just like affirm that I'm cleansing my energy, like I'm cleansing my mind, I'm cleansing my emotions. And then I also do that in the shower as well. So I do pranic healing as well. So pranic healing is basically like it's a form of energy. So it's like Reiki, so it's a form of energy cleansing and it's no touch. So what we're doing is we're just basically like cleaning out the chakras because obviously we have 12. So we're cleaning out the chakras and then we're energizing them with fresh prana. So with pranic healing, it's something that I've sort of put on hold for now, like while I'm building my coaching. But I find I feel that once I have my I'm more sort of stable in my coaching, I'll bring pranic healing into it. So pranic healing is definitely a modality that I use, but really it's just like cleansing my aura and nervous system practices, breath work, journaling, meditation, and affirmations. I find that affirmations really, really help me.
mm.
And just that like that repetition, repeating things to myself, affirming things. would be like my main practices, I would say. Occasionally I'll do some like, like a self massage or something. It's not something that I do often, but a few years ago I was very into the whole massage and, you know, things like that.
That's lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We love the affirmations. We love the
Oh yeah.
repetition over time. This is, my
Mm-hmm.
mentor always tells me, like, repetition is the master teacher. And I was like, this is
Yes.
very true, because how we became to be
Mhm.
now is repetition from other things
Exactly.
you didn't know we were choosing at the time. So
Exactly.
now it's like it's a very fun game, if you will, to be like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's my old way of thinking. What can we create today? And it's allowed me specifically to just be so much more grateful and present with my life, where it's
Yep.
like, I pride myself in being intentional as much as I can humanly do.
I love that.
Right? Like Tantra,
Yeah.
like there's a big misconception around Tantra that it's all about sex, and it's
Mm-hmm.
actually very little to do with sex. So
Mm,
you use your sexual energy, like one of the chakras, the sacral, predominantly,
yep.
and your heart center. Now
Yep.
they're all involved, but those are the two predominant ones that we utilize when we're practicing to
Mm-hmm.
heal, to remove blockages, etc.
Yep.
Often combined with the breath work, the meditation. There's very like
Mm-hmm.
cool like connective exercises that you like wouldn't think would be like, oh, it's like whatever, but once you're in it, you're just like, whoa. You get to
Oh,
experience yourself and experience other people in a totally different way. um and it just allows you to connect on a deeper level, which I feel sometimes is missing in every day.
oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So
That's incredible. I
it
would
is.
actually love to experience that with you.
Yeah, we could totally
Have a
do
tandem session.
like an online session. That would be wonderful.
I would
um
love that.
yeah, it's a beautiful modality, and it
Mm.
to me it's a philosophy, it's a way of life to be
Oh,
tantric.
100%.
um
Yeah.
and for me it just means being mindful, being very present, being
Mm-hmm.
very intimate and loving to myself.
Yep.
So that really falls under kind of what you're all about as well. So
Yeah.
maybe just have a fancy label on it, but it's not anything new necessarily.
Mm.
It's got specific names and modalities to make sure you're on the right track. So,
Yeah. I think that's amazing though, because then you can bring that into your everyday life. Like you said, you already do. Like
mhm.
you can bring that, that tantric energy, or, you can bring that into other areas of your life, which is amazing.
Yes. And as we know as coaches, like how you do one thing's how you do everything. So
Mm-hmm.
this really like is a tangible way to see, hey, you know, in an intimate setting, let's say, you're probably the most vulnerable you're ever going to be. You're
Mm-hmm.
naked, you're in front of somebody else, there's really
Mm-hmm.
no room to hide. So it's like, oh my gosh. But for me, when I experience my clients, it's like, oh my goodness, for them to like feel liberated inside of that, they can do anything outside of this room. It's
That's
such a, like you build the confidence, you feel like deeper connections, not even to
mhm.
the partner, but yourself.
Yep.
And that, like, no one can take that away from you, unless it's you.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
So,
exactly.
right. So, just regaining control in a different method, right? Like we're
Mm-hmm.
always kind of trying to control an outcome, let's say, or the way things should be, like the shoulds. Like I always tell people, don't should all over yourself, because that's
Yep.
gonna be messy. But
Yep.
it's a control within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of reacting to life, we learn how to respond.
Mm-hmm.
And naturally you become equanimous, or
Yep.
equanimous if you're a Luke. I love the accent, and like when you guys say certain words, I'm like, oh my God, this is so funny.
So
Um,
good.
but just for everyone watching, whoever doesn't know what equanimous means, it basically means to be calm and composed, especially in a high stress situation. So no matter what is going on around you, it doesn't matter. You're still focused, you're still serene, you're still doing what you need to do. And people just get drawn to that because they're like, oh, I,
That's like inner
that,
peace right there.
it's like I'm sorry, you don't need to freak out. You don't need to play a victim. Oh my goodness, there's another way. And that's like, right? But because we're so automatic in the like, oh, it doesn't dawn on people that there's another option. So when
Yeah.
I really break down my work, it's like I just provide possibilities to people within their
Mm,
body. So, like the feeling of happiness, the feeling of intimacy, the feeling and sensations of whatever it is they want. So then they
mm-hmm.
can become, like we said earlier, about being that energetic match. So
Yeah.
that's really where we go to town and we get to work. So,
Oh, I love that. And what got you into Tantra?
oh, I feel like I don't know if this occurs to you, but it's like
Mm,
my whole life was dedicated to a purpose. Never understood what it was, but the just like series of life events, starting from day one. I was born on
mm-hmm.
Valentine's Day. I was born to do Cupid's work. So there's one. Two,
Yep.
I always wanted to take care of people, heal people, help people, whatever. I said
Mm-hmm.
when I was 12, I will heal the world with my hugs. And I kind of am. I'm also a professional cuddler. I don't really disclose a lot of that, but it's a beautiful way to like have cuddle therapy and have a platonic, nice connection with people. So there's no
Mm-hmm.
like kind of like, oh, it's gonna happen, things and that. Um,
Yep.
I also went through a trying time with an ex-partner. We were together for
Mm-hmm.
6 years. We bought a house together. 6 months in,
Mm-hmm.
we realized we were living separate lives in the same house. And I just felt like I couldn't speak. I couldn't be myself. I couldn't really get there. And I was
Yep.
conforming to a way that I thought I had to be. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I just never want anyone else to feel like that. So
Yep.
that's one factor for sure. And then the pandemic came around 2020. I was in a
Mm-hmm.
long distance relationship with someone from the States. And we were friends for a year before this. And then as soon as we decided to start dating, it automatically, oh, here's the pandemic for you. No border crossings. And I was just like, how in the hell am I supposed to love this person if they're like all the way over there?
Mm-hmm.
So most of my relationships prior to were very physical. Nothing
Yep.
wrong with that. However, my thoughts were all around my worth being what I could do for people.
Yep.
And that was what changed when I was dating someone I couldn't physically touch. And
Mm,
probably the best and most connected I've ever felt in my entire life with a partner, which surprised the crap out of me because, again, I was like, there's no like touchy touchy.
yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's so powerful.
So he like took yes, he totally like
Mm,
penetrated my heart, we'll say,
yep.
and my mind.
Yep.
Beautiful mind. I'm a very intellectually stimulated being, so this was
Oh
like
yes.
top notch. However, I did feel there was still a little something missing. I had the
Mm,
opportunity to visit him. I did for a week in Ohio,
mhm,
and we became physical, and it was just lacking. Like it didn't match up
mhm,
the other parts of our relationship. So coming
mhm,
home, I found this tantric workshop. No idea what that meant. I just knew it said connect to your own intimacy and like a light bulb. I was like, oh, I need that.
ooh,
My body was like, when we always have a feeling of ooh or no, it was definitely a ooh. So I had to go. And
yep.
after that, it was like a 3.5 day workshop
Mhm,
full of women, something I wasn't used to. I was so used to the
mhm,
masculine energy, being safer there.
yep.
But it was so beautiful. I think it was the first time I felt unconditional love.
Yep.
And that changed everything for me. And I said, what can I
Mhm,
do? I want more of this. And she offered me a
mhm,
practitioner position. Now, at the time, no idea what that meant. I was in the medical fields. So switching from a 9 to 5 medical administration role to a in-person, like holistic way of doing things, I was like, I don't know if I can do that. And
wow.
after a year and a half of living and working in this like wellness center, it's a beautiful
Mm,
house, 6 roommates, a pool, a sauna, like it was very like oasis living. Um,
yep.
I was hooked. I was sold. I knew this was what I was meant to do. And now that I'm back home in Hamilton, which is about 45 minutes from where I was,
Mm,
I'm just running with it for myself. Yeah.
that's incredible. That's so amazing. Thank you for sharing all of that, Dana.
Yeah, lifelong journey, really.
Love that. I
I mean,
love that. But that's just amazing how just like where you were just like led to where you are now. It's incredible.
yeah, and through all the heartache and all the hardships, like really, it's really
Hmm.
shaped who I am, and I feel more resilient for it. So, in hindsight, cannot be angry. It's something that I really pride myself in, knowing that I'm always supported by the universe. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And everything that you experienced was meant to happen to lead you to where you are now.
Hmm.
To serve in the way that you're serving now other women
Yeah.
and yourself.
And myself, and funny enough, most of my in-person clients are men.
Yep.
So
Ooh.
I have this luxury of, I'm serving a lot of more women online. I have a couple women
Mm,
in the in-person field, but
yep.
it's such a beautiful dance with between the masculine and the feminine, you know.
Yep. Yep.
Get to experience it firsthand. And then kind of what sets me apart, I would say, is that I have both sides. So when the feminine is
Yep.
like, I don't understand the masculine, I'm like, let me talk to you about it. Or vice versa. And it's just like
Yes.
very credible to be like, hey, like I work with these people all the time. I so
Mhm.
hear you. I so get it. You're seen, you're loved. Don't worry. We're gonna figure it out. So
That's amazing. I love that.
yes. So speaking of
Yeah.
the masculine and feminine, how
Hmm.
does that play a role in your either personal life or your business? I am curious.
Mm. So for me, I feel like I've always been very feminine. So since I was young, like really that like, as we say, like divine feminine. I feel like I've always really been in that energy. That's like my natural energy, you could say. Um, and then obviously like, at work and stuff, I'm in my masculine, but I feel like at work I've really been able to like play around with masculine and feminine. Um, and but I feel like with my business, the obviously like the holding space for my clients, that's obviously being in the feminine. The supporting, the guiding, the nurturing, that's in my feminine. But then obviously like the other parts, like creating content and the systems, the strategies, the all of that is like the masculine. So I feel like for me, probably the past, oh, I would actually say, to be honest, I would say probably the past 2 years I've been really in my feminine. And then this year I'm really, really stepping into my masculine, like in like a whole new way. And it's been really cool to just play around with it, like as I'm building my business, like being like, all right, so this is what the masculine feels like. Like, cool, this is good. And then I feel like that's been balancing. Like I've been balancing that with just, my natural feminine. Um, so yeah,
That's lovely.
it's yeah,
Another dance, another balancing act. I love this.
yeah. Yeah. And like learning, like when I first learned about masculine and feminine, I was like, wow, okay, like this is incredible. And then, yeah, and then I just felt like I was more aware of it. And then I just started noticing, like, I'd just be doing things. I'm like, oh, I'm in my feminine right now. Ooh, I'm in my masculine. And then I was just like, I just kept building that awareness. And so
Mm,
now it just feels natural
hmm.
to balance the two.
I love this.
Yeah.
Masculine and feminine is probably one of my favorite conversations in the world. Um, Basically law of polarity, right? Like everything has an equal and an opposite. Um,
Yes.
so I'm curious for, the viewers at home that maybe don't know what we're talking about necessarily. What would you
Mm.
say for someone who's just starting out? What's probably an important point between knowing about masculine and feminine energy?
Oh, that is a good question.
I am full of
I,
them.
I think it would be like obviously like letting them know that regardless of gender, we all have masculine and we all have feminine.
Mhm.
And when we think about masculine, like, most people would think, oh, masculine is like, like a man's energy, or feminine is feminine energy, but that's actually not true. So like the masculine is like, for example, it's, it's structure, it's planning, it's boundaries. It's, you know, very, very goal oriented, very like focused on success and outcomes. Whereas the feminine is more about flow and nurturing and being connected to your intuition. So if you think about the feminine and masculine, the feminine is like the being, it's like your being energy, like your feeling, and then the masculine is doing. So obviously we live in a very masculine society, and the feminine often gets neglected. But we have more people like ourselves that are raising, you know, the awareness of the feminine, and the feminine is becoming more prominent now. So yes, I would say, like, in a nutshell, to just sort of condense all of that, the feminine is being and the masculine is doing. And also the masculine is giving and the feminine is receiving.
Yeah.
So it's that balance of giving and receiving. If I was trying to explain that to like a 5-year-old, for example, I would say, or, you know, or as you've said, someone starting out new, I would say the feminine the masculine is giving and the feminine is receiving.
Yeah. And that's basically how I break it down for my clients as well. When they come in, you know, they're all very in their masculine, whether it's a male or female, to be honest. And then
Yeah.
I like literally, when you drop in your body and you learn to receive purely, right? Like sometimes I'll just do a quick test with people. I'll just be like, I'll give them a compliment and see if they have like a knee-jerk reaction to say something in return. And I go up,
Yes.
receive what I just
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
And then if you want to say something back, I will gladly receive that back. But the knee-jerk reaction takes out the authenticity of the comment. And I don't think people realize it because we're just so used to like, oh God, like, and I know some people that run away from it because they're like, don't compliment me because I have nothing to say to you.
Yep.
It's not like I'm sitting over here fishing for it, but most people feel that way. And I'm just like, no, this is a beautiful opportunity to be like, this is what we call the exhale, the of
Yes.
where you can just be, like you said, the
Yes.
feminine be, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, I think that's a
Just
wonderful
to
little test for people to see where they're
yeah,
at.
get them to actually receive the compliment and not deflect it.
Yeah. Because if you
Yeah,
can't do it with the small things, how are you going to do it with the big things, right? And
that
it's
is so true.
and it correlates into a lot of different areas. Like I know for myself, I had a really hard time receiving for the longest time. And I had a big, huge money block. Like it was just like I was never making enough. And it wasn't that it wasn't enough. It's just like I wasn't able to receive it. I ultimately didn't feel safe with it. So I
Yeah.
had every means to get rid of it, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a very interesting thing when you break it all down and the little things matter, right?
Yeah. And speaking of like money blocks, I feel like I've had that a lot from like in my life as well. But I feel like the past probably 6 months, I've really been working on my money mindset and just changing creating new beliefs around money. You know, thinking of money as being like a friend and energy rather than being like, oh, I never have enough money, all this kind of stuff. But yeah, I feel like I'm definitely changing my relationship to money. So I feel you there.
That's lovely. I'm actually doing the same thing. A couple of weeks ago, I had a hypnotherapy session and we had a deep subconscious conversation with money. And she sent me the recording and I was just like, holy, like I didn't remember anything I said, but I was just like, holy shizer, like no wonder money doesn't want to stick around. I'm an asshole. Like, I was being so rude to it, you know? So very.
Yeah. And also, I love hypnotherapy too, now that you bring that up.
Tell us more. What's your experience?
Well, well, I came across Marissa Peer. She's like a, you know, world-class hypnotherapist, and just been following her stuff. And I actually signed up to like a foundation certificate in hypnotherapy, but I put it on hold. So while I'm like building my business, I'm like, I don't want to overwhelm myself with too many things. Sort of have my fingers in too many different pies. But yeah, I found hypnotherapy's it's really cool. Like I do like a sleep meditation. So basically I'm like being like hypnotized into relaxing and falling asleep. And I really love the way that it's explained. So it's like, don't say you're falling asleep because we don't want to fall, but you say sleep is coming to me.
Mm.
And I was like, ooh, that's different. Like just that little tweak makes a huge difference. But yeah, the sleep meditation has been really cool. Or the sleep hypnotherapy, you could say.
Very nice.
And I've also had a few people say to me, I think you're going to be a hypnotherapist one day. And I was like, oh, all right. Okay. I'm taking it. Maybe that'll happen. Because I would really love to incorporate hypnotherapy into my coaching. I think that would be such a game changer for people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for myself, because I mean, I've got like a massive fear of, there's going to be like, this is like really personal right now, but I've got like a massive fear of throwing up, like vomiting.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah. And so I think because I had a really bad experience when I was young, and I feel like it's like that, it's like trauma, it's like stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So even when I feel nauseous, like I get really like, oh God, like I get really like anxious.
Mm-hmm.
And I have gotten better with it, but still not great. But I feel like with hypnotherapy, I would be able to actually overcome that fear because hypnotherapy does that. It doesn't just work with your subconscious mind, but it also helps you overcome fears as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be a very interesting concept inside of my practice as well. Because I feel like,
Mm,
like most times trauma gets trapped in our bodies and then
mm-hmm.
our brain kind of like decides or remembers, right? Like everything
Yeah.
we have from childhood, the trauma itself is never going to be the same. It's always a
Mm-hmm.
memory. So your
Mm-hmm.
brain's always adding and deleting information. So by the time you get to it when you're like X amount of years, it's
Mm-hmm.
not actually the same memory of the trauma, but your body does certainly remember. So a
Yeah.
lot of my stuff is embodiment pieces and body work, but then I love the element of, training the brain to like not fear that, that sensation, that feeling, that emotion, let's say,
Yeah.
something I used to shove down for years. So
Mm,
I know all about that world. And I think that makes
yeah.
us, like the fact that we've been there before, can
Mm-hmm.
make us so much more impactful and more empathetic to our future clients. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm.
I love this. It's so good.
It's so good.
Was there anything else you'd like to share with us today? I'm just like, I could probably pick your brain for days, but we don't have that kind of time. So
I don't think so. I feel like we've really just like it's just flowed so well, like our conversation.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Perfect. Just before we go and head out, I just wanted to ask, where can people find you if they're interested?
Where can people find me? They can find me on Instagram. So my username is courtney.a.lewis.
Okay.
Um, and also Facebook under Courtney Lewis. But then there's also a lot of other Courtney Lewises. But if they're like, who's Courtney Lewis? It's me sitting on top of a van meditating like this.
That's
Sitting on
beautiful.
top of a white van.
Yes, we're gonna
Like,
make sure
that's her.
we're gonna make sure we put everything in the show notes for you so everyone can find you easily. But
Amazing.
yeah, I really appreciate that. So that's wonderful.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dana.
You're welcome, Court. Thank you for being
Being so
here.
nice. You're
Love
so
you.
welcome. Love you.